Welcome back, everyone, to the latest episode of Unclassified podcast. I am America's Mayor Ben Wheeler. I'm joined today by teen heartthrob Preston Stewart. And today, the United States and Israel are at war with Iran, and Khamenei is dead, or they believe he is dead. High likelihood that he is dead, which is a crazy phrase to even say.
Yeah, I think let's dive into what we know so far. We're recording this at 1 p.m. Central on the 28th. I think the plan here is to do some rapid updates over the next couple of days. A lot's going to change. So rather than an hour and Q&A and all that stuff, we'll save that for another day. Let's dive right into Iran. So Operation Epic Fury. Drop the ball on the name, but that's what we got. OEF.
Not a fan.
We had to go OEF. As an Operation Enduring Freedom veteran, I feel like they could have chosen something other than OEF for this war, but that's where we are.
I mean, it's definitely a millennial name, if I've ever heard one. That is the most millennial name. Epic Fury. You know what? It sounds like a name generated by an AI created by Radio Shack. So that's my take on it. But Preston, the launches took off at, I believe they started at 1:15 Eastern Standard Time this morning, which that's in U.S. time. But in Iran, that's in the middle of the day, which, as everyone's watched this knows, that is quite odd. I have been digging quite far. I believe this is the first large-scale daytime strike that the U.S. has done since at least Vietnam. I think it would have to be Vietnam. Ever since the United States got the ability to see at night and technology took off, there's been no real reason for them to strike during the day, which is why it caught everybody off guard.
Yeah, and I think that was a little bit of the deception here. Chalk one up for Team Unclassified. It's a weekend strike, right? Wait for the markets to close. All things go boom. We knew that was coming. Now, whether it was this weekend or last weekend or 2 weekends ago, that's up for debate. But it looks like right now what's happening is the U.S. and Israel. And that's another thing. I feel like this is flying under the radar, but the U.S. and Israel are carrying out joint operations. We do a lot of training for that, but I don't know that we ever have actually done that.
Midnight
U.S.
Hammer.
and Israeli forces coordinated in a combat theater to conduct strikes. Maybe a little bit with the Houthis, but that was really more like just you stay over there, we'll stay over here. This was a large-scale military operation done hand in hand with Israel. I think that's a first. Anyways, it looks like what the United States has primarily done at this point is fire Tomahawk missiles. I don't know that we've had any aircraft overhead. There were some reports of maybe some unmanned aircraft over portions of Iran. The footage right now is very, very limited. And I think what we're seeing right now is the suppression and destruction of Iranian air defenses to clear the path for more large-scale strikes in the coming days. When you're looking at missiles versus bombs, bombs are a lot cheaper. We have a lot more of them, and you can put a lot bigger boom on target in a short period of time. So if we want to do a lot of damage to Iran, it's going to be with bombs, not missiles. I think that's probably what the next 24 to 48 hours will show us.
I think you're absolutely right. It is interesting that we really have no idea what the U.S. role was in this. It's kind of been
a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
We have just, and this is a tough one because it's chaotic and it's still happening. And as we're recording, there's strikes taking place. So like it's all over the map. But CENTCOM did put out an announcement just a few minutes ago. So They did their first official, like, here's what's happening. And between that and some other statements, it looks like the United States is focused on military targets and military infrastructure, and the Israelis are focused on decapitation strikes going after Iranian leadership. I would not say that those are both mutually exclusive. We've already seen Israeli footage going after missile launchers, but generally speaking, and that fits with kind of like our intelligence strengths as well. Like when you're looking at the location of Iranian leadership, who are you going to turn to? American intelligence is awesome, but like, let's be real. It's probably the Israelis that have the people inside the IRGC showing the real-time movements of their leadership. But if you're trying to figure out the exact location of missile launch sites, the munitions needed to destroy those and all of that, that's going to be more in the wheelhouse of the U.S. military. So I do think we've seen a bit of a split there.
Absolutely. I think you're definitely right. It is interesting that the United States is not actively communicating the way the IDF is, but I think that's more of a practice thing. You know, the IDF has been at this for a few years now. they kind of get it. The United States, for the most part, has been skirmishing with random drug boats and whatever else. So maybe they will get into the practice of live posting, but I also just think it's not really the U.S.'s style, anyways.
Oh man,
It,
totally disagree. Totally disagree on the style thing. I feel like this is right up the Pentagon's path right now. They're putting out strike footage in the Caribbean. I think
that's true.
it's interesting that they're not publishing more right now. I don't know exactly how to read into that because I think what you said is true. Israel has a lot more practice on here's what happened, here's how to scrub it, and here's how it'll affect ongoing operations. Again, Iran is very different than cartel boats in the Caribbean. So I think I wouldn't read too much into it right now to mean more than what you just said. But man, come on, we've got an undersecretary of war already posting, fuck around and find out, right? They want to post footage nonstop. I think
you're right. I think, yeah, it is the political leadership style. I don't think it's the military leadership style.
Sure,
if that makes sense.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Dan Raisin Kane, I'm so used to saying that I've forgotten his name is just Dan Kane. That I don't think Kane is, interested in the gloating and the social media cloud at all. So that is interesting. Now, as this has gone off, Iran has been just throwing missiles at the Gulf states. Everyone from, poor Oman, who tried to negotiate hostilities here, is getting hit with missiles. You have Bahrain, the UAE. They tried hitting the Burj Khalifa, and Saudi Arabia, Israel, Jordan, Syria. Everybody's getting hit with something. And it makes you wonder. I've seen several interpretations. Some have said it is them lashing out and trying to punish everybody else. But others have said that, if anything, it is them attacking these Gulf states because they know there's nothing they can necessarily do to the United States that will make them back down. So in theory, if you hit the UAE, if you hit Bahrain, if you hit Saudi Arabia enough, then the royals who are close of Trump and Kushner will plead with the U.S. and plead with Trump to stop the attack or draw a line in the sand. What do you make of it?
I think that second one is spot on, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing now. We've seen an expansion of the Iranian strikes. They started out just going after what appeared to be military facilities, and look, some of the munitions got through. We've seen shaheds and we've seen missiles now at this point impact on or very near American military bases. Now, I think we're that's a thing. I think folks maybe underestimated what we were getting into here. Iran has a ton of munitions. And in terms of pure quantity, it's hard to intercept all of those. So we kind of have to assume if we're going to get into an all-out fight that some of those missiles are going to get through. I don't know if we're ready to see what that means. We definitely evacuated some areas, but one of the missiles hit the headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. We didn't evacuate the headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. Maybe some family members and unnecessary personnel are no longer there, but that is the headquarters for naval operations in CENTCOM. They didn't move it entirely. On top of that, it is going to be pretty heavily protected. So the fact that anything gets through there shows where this could be headed. You mentioned that they went after the Burj Khalifa. I think we have to be careful with that right now. I don't think that they were actually, I don't know that we don't know what they were going after. There's a crazy video of a drone flying along the skyline with that clearly in the background. It does look like they've switched to a little bit more indiscriminate attacks against Dubai, against Bahrain's catching it left and right. Yeah. And I think you're spot on. They're not trying to sink an American carrier. They will if they can, right? I don't know that they could. They're certainly going to try to inflict casualties on U.S. forces, but those are hard targets. Some will still get through, but downtown Dubai is not a hard target. And you have to imagine, this is not they're not currying favor with the Emiratis. It's not like the Emiratis are going to be all right, fine, we'll be on Iran's side. But exactly what you said. They want these people to go to Trump and say, this has to stop. We can't do this for days, weeks, months. And to shut down a place like downtown Dubai, how many drones a week does it take impacting? I would argue very few.
I think you're absolutely right.
This could be a long-term campaign.
I think you're absolutely right. I also think there is a chance that they are miscalculating. They are betting that MBZ will go to Trump and beg him to stop this. But what they're not, they are betting that the UAE and Bahrain and everyone else won't go, okay, well then, yeah, why don't you just launch strikes from our land, right? And so they
Or we
do,
join. Yeah.
right. The longer this goes, the more of a risk they run of doing that. And I think there is the chance of that. Now, you know who is for sure not involved, though? I know everybody listening to this was very concerned. I was as well. I thought they were the ringleader. They are not. The Bulgarian foreign minister released a statement today letting everybody know that Bulgaria was not involved in the strikes at all, which, like I said, everybody who's an unclassified listener knows that they are the ringleader of most
We were
things.
waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that they were not involved is pretty big. But speaking of people who, Turkey, my understanding is, and I've seen reports, I mean, unconfirmed so far, that the United States used Turkey's airspace for various missions, for various strikes here in conducting them on Iran, whether that is the AWACS. I don't know exactly if U.S. fighter jets have flown through that, but I do know that the U.S. is using Turkey's airspace, which is very interesting given everything.
I haven't heard much about that yet. I'd probably wait, I'll just wait to see if we hear more. Turkey's Erdogan came out upset about this, saying that Israel is the one that keeps that they're getting close on negotiations, and Israel is the one that sabotages it. He's clearly not happy. There's been an interesting mix of foreign leaders. Carney from Canada came out and said we support the United States. We've got a number of other European allies saying this is a problem. It shouldn't be happening. So we're in kind of a weird spot right now with the international community kind of either voicing they've got Iran has Russia, all right? So Russia came in and said, this is awful. You shouldn't do this thing. But really what we're seeing are people either saying, we stand with the United States and we stand with Israel, or we think this is a mistake. This shouldn't be happening. There's not really anybody like jumping on the Iranian side at this point.
Absolutely. I do feel for Oman, who released a statement saying that they basically said, come on, Trump, this isn't you, which I thought was hilarious.
Well, yesterday they were like, we are closer than ever. We're right on the verge. And people were like, God, that doesn't line up with what? Okay.
I could have told you what was going to happen yesterday when they sent JD Vance to go do it. I'll tell you what, if I was the Iranian negotiators and I had to listen to JD Vance and his Tumblr voice lecture me, I'd say, you know what, just bomb us, whatever. So they were not negotiating in good faith by sending JD Vance, but it is interesting that Oman believed diplomacy was possible when I don't think anybody else did. And so this Iranian terror campaign across the Middle East here, it will be interesting to see if they expand who they can hit. It will be interesting. I assume they will not hit Turkey because, number one, if they do hit Turkey, that does become a NATO Article 5 issue. And also, I just think of all the Middle Eastern countries that are willing to kick your ass and can kick your ass, Turkey's like number one on there, right? So
yeah.
I just don't think maybe they will attempt terror attacks in the U.S. or in Western Europe, but I just don't think it's likely. I think the Iranian regime is cooked. I mean, the fact that you see Predator missiles flying at like 3,000 feet over the airspace, moving like a ladybug, just the slowest thing you've ever seen before in your life, is pretty stunning. All talk, no action.
I disagree. I don't think the regime is done. I think we are at a point where the question has always been, if you punch them in the mouth, do they back down or do they double down? Mm-hmm. Do they start fighting back or do they say enough's enough? And that's kind of a question with any military campaign. And I don't think it was ever likely that a wave of airstrikes would cause them to say enough, we're ready to capitulate. As we've talked about here before, the things that we are asking for that I think are good would mean the end of the Iranian regime. So it's hard, it's not just a matter of that airstrike got a little too close. Let me give myself up to whoever rules next. I mean, we're talking about a lot of these guys are probably going to be put on trial, killed, extradited to be, put on trial around the world. Like, it's not just a matter of comfort for these guys. It's their survival. So is there a point where they might capitulate and surrender? Yes. I don't think it's 1 day worth of strikes. It's possible we get there. But if Iran views this as existential, and we should talk about President Trump's speech because he kind of hit on some of this. If Iran views this as this is it, this is not a matter of the U.S. trying to pressure us or Israel trying to get us to accept different terms, but this is regime change, then we should expect Iran to use everything at their disposal. And I think we're going to start seeing that.
I actually think I disagree to a certain extent because, as we've seen in Venezuela, they called it regime change, but it really wasn't regime change. The Maduro Chavez regime is still in power in Venezuela. Just this new lady is like a kind of a U.S. puppet in a way, right? I think that there are people in the Iranian state, especially if Khamenei's dead, who are looking at this and going, all right, well, we can make do. And they will have to acknowledge that Khamenei's dead eventually, right? I mean, they're going to do that. I don't know how they're going to announce it.
Assuming that's correct. Yeah, we've definitely got mixed reports right now and no verification, but yeah, that can't be hidden forever.
They keep saying he's going to give a speech here soon. They've been saying it for 7 hours. Have you ever seen that video of the girl posted? This is the video my dad sent me telling me my dog died, and it's like an AI video of the dog saying, "Hey, it's me, it's your dog. I'm in heaven now." Maybe they'll do that with Khamenei. It's me, great. Khamenei. I'm gone now. So yeah, we're gonna have to see what happens here. I'm of the viewpoint though that someone's gonna cut it. Maybe it's the foreign minister. I don't think he's even in Iran, isn't he? So I mean, if he's the last guy standing, but I don't think the Shah is coming back or his son. I don't think there's gonna be democracy. I think there's gonna be a leader who steps in and is pragmatic. Maybe that's too optimistic of me, but I think with Khamenei gone and the entire defense side gone, I just think the political solution becomes a tad easier. The political outcome becomes easier.
I just want to stress that Khamenei may or may not be dead, but the Iranian ability to defend themselves is not gone. They still have a lot at their disposal.
Yeah. Well, no one will know if Khamenei is alive or dead until he comes on here and confirms it. So
here we go. They did. Did you see the reports that they're shutting down the Strait of Hormuz? Again, getting to the idea that they're going nuclear, for lack of a better term. Probably shouldn't use that term when we're talking about this, but that's kind of what they're doing, like a suicide pact in a sense. And that's again, it can go any direction. Like to your point, we've seen throughout history, we've seen countries that start to go down this path and say that's too much. We don't want a complete destruction. And the people rise up or government officials turn and say, we can't go down this road. It's suicide. And we have other examples where they just take the whole country down with them. So, I think both of those scenarios are on the table. But President Trump's speech, I woke up, that got to be the first thing I watched today. Would not advise a speech from President Trump being the way to start your morning, let alone start your weekend.
Wow, that's not very patriotic of you.
That's how we did it. I'm more of a Reagan guy when I wake up, kind of.
Wait, so you don't have the intercom that plays every morning at 6 a.m.? Hello, fellow patriots. Good morning. That doesn't happen in your house? Is that just
greater than ever? Greater than ever. No, maybe I'll get that installed. Kept me up to date on this stuff, but it was interesting. My takeaway, and interested in your thoughts on it, Ben. I think he, in so many words, said regime change, but also everything. We're going to do everything. I had some jokes with some Army buddies in a text message later where they said, like, what is the top priority? All of it. He listed off every one of the things that, again, I would love to see in the future of Iran. So the degradation or elimination of their missile program, no nuclear program, ending support for the proxies, support for the protesters, and the end of the regime. All good stuff. It was just kind of like we're just going to do it all. But anyways, what did you think watching that speech?
He Lord Farquaaded it. Have you ever seen Shrek?
Oh, it's been a while.
And Lord Farquaad, he goes up there and he goes, yes, some of you may die, but it's for the greater good. And that's kind of what he said. He said U.S. casualties are possible, but that's war, which is interesting, to say the least. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. He kind of just said, we're going to do everything, which in many ways, that was George W. Bush's fault when it came to Iraq. Instead of finding nuclear weapons, he just said, well, it's everything. Also breaking news, the United States has issued a worldwide caution alert to its citizens. So bad news for Americans and Canadians. So, not great. That's a deep cut, but yeah.
It really, I mean, look, we're very early in this. The strikes are going to continue tonight. Iran is still carrying out strikes across the Middle East. Like as we hit record, I think Bahrain got hit again. I don't think this is going to be fast. It does not look like air superiority has been achieved quite yet. Israel is flying their jets, it looks like, in drones maybe over Western Iran, but
Wait, are the Tomcats up?
I don't know. The only footage I've seen is F-35s taking off, but we've got some. It looks like footage, like drone footage. Excuse me, of some of these Israeli strikes, and it's very slow moving. It looks like it's coming from some sort of fixed wing drone. But those are happening in Western Iran. So you got to think of from Western Iran to Tehran, air defenses generally are going to get more and more robust. So Israel hitting stuff out west is probably the simplest when it comes to navigating air defense. But it doesn't sound like we've got ownership of the skies quite yet. That's going to be the next couple of days.
Yeah, well, from what I've seen, I saw U.S. officials say that the anti-air system they have is essentially gone. It's been neutralized. So I wonder, like, how deep that is, right? But I did see U.S. officials say that. I do feel bad for the American pilot who inevitably has to shoot down a Tomcat if it's up in the air. I mean, you should just get on the radio and ask him to surrender, right? When that, I mean, it is
a rough go.
This is like totally off topic, but like when you see that thing, you're like, what a beauty. And it is sad to see like, okay, this thing's going to be destroyed, isn't it? Right. One of the last ones out there. So hopefully those are still on the ground, but I mean, who knows? Here's what I wonder. We've seen U.S. and Israeli officials say tomorrow's going to be worse. It's going to be more intensive, and that they plan on continuing to escalate till the Iranians fold. Now, my question to you is, what does that mean? If we assume Khamenei's dead, we assume we have total control over the airspace, or mostly control. What does escalating till the Iranians fold even mean?
Airstrikes above and beyond what we're seeing right now. So there were a number of supposedly one-way attack drones used. I haven't seen the footage of that yet, but the Pentagon, through a couple different reporters, said we used those. And Tomahawks, limited number.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start putting up B-2 bombers, B-1 bombers, B-2 bombers, B-52s, and a lot of our fixed-wing aircraft, you can start hitting a lot of targets with a lot of ordnance and really pound some of these things from, instead of just, degrading certain assets, like removing bases out of Iran entirely. That would be the escalation. If we achieve air superiority, air dominance, we'd be able to have those aircraft up for a significant period of time all across the country, just dropping bombs kind of around the clock. That would be the next step. But I think we need to mention casualties real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because there's mixed reports on this. I don't know if you've seen much, but the U.S. has said no U.S. casualties, no significant damage to U.S. facilities. I take that second one with a grain of salt because the footage I've seen looks like pretty big explosions on American bases.
I was going to say, CENTCOM is on fire right now, so I don't know what that's about.
Like, it might not be like I don't know. I feel like I saw some things on American bases blow up. So it's hard to say that there was no damage there. But either way, they're saying minimal damage. They're saying it does not impact operational readiness. So that's the statement out of CENTCOM. We're hearing, actually just got an update from the Red Crescent in Iran. They said 750 people have been injured and 200 killed during the first wave of strikes. That's so a non-governmental organization. I don't know how independent they are inside of Iran. Haven't heard anything from the Iranian government. Haven't heard anything at all from Israel. They had OPSEC lockdown over there, man. I don't know if you remember during the 12-day war, there were videos coming out left and right showing the strikes and the interceptions, and that's not happening. Yeah. Like, Israel got the word out. Don't release any footage. Don't share anything. I don't know. I haven't heard any reports of impacts, but it's just like no information coming out on that front. Iran did announce that a school was hit in their country. Yeah. And this is starting to get a lot of attention. Yeah. And I feel like we need to mention this. So they said a school was hit by the U.S. or Israel, resulted in about 80, 85 people killed, most of them young girls between the ages of 7 and 10. I don't know. I've seen videos and pictures. A building was certainly hit by something, and there certainly are a lot of young casualties being removed from that rubble. Like, those two things I can confirm. And I've seen experts geolocate that footage to say, yes, that is current. Yes, that is in Iran. In terms of what could have caused it and the intent behind that, which is actually important, is still an unknown.
Yeah, to me, I'm like, I hope it was an accident, right? I really do hope it was an accident. It definitely seems as though, yeah, I mean, that is a tragedy there. To a certain extent, I wonder if it wasn't an accident, if it's simply like a misunderstanding. Because I looked this up to think, well, it's Saturday, so why are people at school? To come to find out that in fact Saturday is Monday in Iran, basically. And then Thursday and Friday are their Saturday, Sunday, which I was like, oh. So I was quite surprised to see that. So maybe it was a cultural misunderstanding. Maybe I'm giving them too much leniency. But yeah, that is a tragedy, and I hope we see the United States or Israel issue an apology, especially because, the Iranian people are victims here, right? They are victims to the abusive regime, and they are also victims, who will inevitably be caught in the crossfire here with the United States and Israel, right? And so I would like to see an apology happen there. Hopefully.
Well, so to be fair, we don't know that it was the United States. Like there's a wide range. Well, there's a wide range here. So first off, the U.S. and Israel were carrying out attacks. You could say that we're together and all of that if you want for the sake of this. And anything they hit is our responsibility and vice versa. I don't know. You can take that path. So it's possible that was a target and we made a mistake and it should not have been a target. That's one. Another is, and this is only a limited number of the possibilities. It's possible we were targeting something else and the munition malfunctioned. That happens. We get so used to these precision strikes being perfect. They are not always perfect. Things malfunction all the time and miss. On top of that, if it was partially intercepted by Iran, then all bets are off, and that thing could land anywhere. And when a missile or a drone is knocked out of the sky, there is a massive explosive payload coming down. And we see this in Ukraine regularly, where a missile is intercepted, it comes down and impacts somewhere it wasn't necessarily planning to hit, but still does a lot of damage because it's a missile. Then, of course, we have the possibility that this was a failed Iranian missile launch. Look, they've had a lot of munitions not make it out of their territory over the years. It is not a crazy thing to say that this was unintentional friendly fire of sorts. And then, of course, an Iranian interceptor coming from one of their air defense systems that crashes back down or malfunctions and hits that location. So people, of course, as you can expect, are quick to jump and blame whoever makes them feel the best. But I'd say right now, fog of war is pretty thick on this one.
Channel 12 in Israel reports breaking news: body of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been found among the rubble. So,
all right, you heard it here first.
Definitely.
You got the 30-minute mark, yeah.
Definitely dead, which is, you hate to see a friend of the pod go, but it is what it is. I'm surprised he did not flee to Moscow.
There were a handful of flights. Yeah, I don't know.
You think he was always going down with the ship?
Probably. I mean, the guy's 86. What's he, like 85, 86?
I mean, Assad seems to be having a good time.
Supposedly, yeah. I don't know.
Right? That is, damn. Well, yeah, I guess I never thought we'd see him dead. I've always thought that, there's always been a respected norm among nations going back to kings and queens where they realize pretty quickly that when you kill another leader, you make yourself a target, right? So they kind of refrain from doing that usually for hundreds of years. I mean, obviously it's not a blanket, but it is interesting that they did that. We will see what happens. Yeah. But that concludes this episode, I think, unless you have another thing you'd like to speak on.
I think that's good for now, man. We're going to have a lot of updates when we come back, be it tomorrow or 48 hours, but it's still very much ongoing.
Absolutely. All right, folks, remember to like, comment, subscribe. We will see you probably tomorrow. Who knows? But, oh, wait, before we stop, at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, I got texts from people saying jets heard over Iraq. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, cow found on farm, cloud found in the sky. I just thought, all right, same shit as always. And then went back to sleep. And how dumb was I? But
you're wrong. Yeah.
Later, y'all.